Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. We continue our theme. Yeah, I suppose if you were to ask our main themes, we tend to look at security a lot, as well as, health issues. So the aspect of security we're going to look at today, I did see a news item. We've always been talking about our borders, how well our borders being policed, and we've also said, or we've heard from, people contributing to the issue that we have vast borders, and so, one should be a bit more understanding of, I think it's the customs people. Well, the Deputy National Spokesperson of the Nigerian Customs Service, Mr. Timi Bomodi, he's been speaking on that same issue. They've been having a sort of a chinwag with other security agencies on this security issue, especially as it relates to the proliferation of arms. Now, the contention of the Deputy National Spokesperson, Mr. Timi Bomodi of Customs, is that the biggest stumbling block that they have, apart from the vastness of our borders, is the hostility that border communities show men of customs. In fact, he thought flatly that the earlier or the sooner border communities begin to adopt a much friendlier disposition to men and women of the officers of the Customs Service, then the sooner we'll get a hold over this whole matter of proliferation of arms, which, as you know, fuels criminality and all this banditry and all of that. So we thought we'd see if we knew anybody in that area, and we're very, very fortunate because we happen to know a traditional ruler. We've worked at that, and KBSC has kindly agreed to come on the program. The board, it's a town, the Oniselu of Iselu Kingdom. That's in Ogun State, and that's in the north, Yewa North local government of Ogun State. KBSC, good morning, sir, and thank you very much for making time for us this morning. I think KBSC can, I wonder if KBSC can hear me. KBSC might have his phone on mute. Good morning, KBSC. Let me try again. Your picture is excellent. We're trying to see if you can hear us. Okay, we're working on that because the idea of, and we've long been hearing that, look, security is everybody's business. Yes, there are people who are dedicated to it, but everybody should consider security as their business. So as soon as we can sort out the technical gizmo that is involved, we want to hear what KBAC, Oba Ebenezer Akitude, the Oniselu of Iselu, what he has to say about the matter, that communities like his, not necessarily his particularly, customs, it is the estimation of customs that they're not friendly. In other words, they're not cooperating with them. And I guess the question is, if you're not cooperating with them, then whether you like it or not, perhaps it could be deduced that you're cooperating with the smugglers and all those kind of people. But I suppose I get a bit ahead of myself. We have to wait to be able to hear from the Oniselu of Iselu, of Ebenezer Akitude. Now, as you know, it's not just customs, but because there were also in the report, which, by the way, you might have seen it yourself. It's a report that the Tribune leads with hostile communities as well as vast borderline affecting efforts against arms proliferation. That's the statement by Customs. Bam. Now, of course, there's police involved. There's also immigration involved. These are with the army. Leave the army out of it. But if you want, we're talking about. But especially as it relates to policing our borders, the Immigration Service said that, well, it's not really our mandate. We go about our mandate, and if we happen to stumble on, smugglers, anybody smuggling arms, of course we'll apprehend them and we'll hand them over to the police. But it's not really our charge. So it is the charge, I think, mainly of customs. And this is what Customs has said is the issue. So I don't know. As we wait to speak with the Kabiesi, the Oniselu of Iselu, which happens to be a border town in Yewa North of Ogun State, and to hear what he has to say, I wonder if there are any other people who either live in those towns or know of those border towns and can sort of evaluate, you know, if you want to even speak on what the Customs is saying, what the Customs through their Deputy National Spokesperson, Mr. Timmy Bomodi, is saying, which is that the biggest stumbling block that they have is the unfriendliness, is the way they put it, of the people that reside in border towns, meaning that smugglers would appear to have safe havens once you come into, you know, their area. Okay, that's the way it is. We'll take a short break now. It's an emergency break. Stay with us, please. We'll see we can sort things out and come back and continue with the program. But we're still on this story. We wanted to find out from one of those border communities that we know of, and we're talking about Lagos here where we are. We're talking about the south, if you want, of the country. Might be the same over there, but as I had said, in case you went with us from the beginning, is that the Deputy National Spokesperson of the Customs, Mr. Timmy Bomodi, has been meeting with, you know, some of his colleagues, and the long and short that came out of the meeting is that the Deputy National Spokesperson of Customs thinks that one of the biggest impediments they have to doing their job well is the unfriendly border communities, those communities that are on the border with, you know, foreign countries, that they're not friendly, and that really it is his belief that the sooner those people get friendlier, is the word, with Customs, maybe hostile, less hostile, because the headline, which, as I said, my eye gleamed in on the Tribune front page this morning. Hostile communities, vast border line affecting efforts against proliferation. Let me see if we have been more successful with trying to reach Kabiesi, Oniselu of Iselu Kingdom. Good morning, Kabiesi. Good morning, Kabiesi. Okay. Good morning, Kabiesi.
Yeah, good morning.
Aha, thank you very much. Okay, you've been listening to us, and you know the premise of this story. I wanted to get your comments, if you heard me well, when the spokesman for the Customs alleges that one of the challenges they have in discharging their work, securing our borders, is the hostility perceived by them of border communities. In addition to the fact that our border lines can be vast, the fact that border communities are also hostile to operations of Customs makes the problem doubly hard for Customs. First of all, what can you tell me about this? Take your town. You are the Oniselu of Iselu. Your community is a border community. Do you understand Customs?
Well, the issue there is very fundamental. And I think what we need to look at is the primary and the beginning of the problem at the border areas. You see, the major challenges at the border area is because the government, the federal government, does not look at the border areas to be one of the prime areas which they need to develop. First and foremost, if you take a look to the border area, you will know that majority of the schools at the border area is something not to write home about. The children at the border areas are not going to school, majority of them. Then two, another challenge is that mostly our people are farmers. And we are having X-Men challenges at the border areas. So when the Fulani X-Men comes around, break the silo and give all the maize to their cattle, there will be nothing left for the farmers to sell, to send their children to school. And with that, the children will have to be roaming around in the community, subject them to child labor, child abuse, and even global terrorism and smuggling.
Now, the smuggling aspects, Kabiyesi, the smuggling one is the one that concerns us among all those ills you are talking about. The custom brass is alleging that communities, and I'm imagining it will include yours as well, are hostile to the operations of customs. Now, you hit on you hit on smuggling there. What can
you see, that's why I said one thing is that we need to look at the causes of the problem.
Okay.
We need to look at the causes of the problem, because you can't just wake up in a day and say our people are hostile with the customs. Fine, our people, some of our subjects are hostile with the custom. Just because the federal government refused to develop the border areas and they have nothing to do than to engage in smuggling. They need to survive.
Okay. Kabiyesi, if I understand you properly,
at the border area,
if I understand
you, 1,000 youth at the border area.
Kabiyesi, I was saying that.
Tell them that, okay, you people, you have to shun smuggling. You don't have to be sitting at home. We ask me, Kabiyesi, what are we going to be eating? There's nothing for us to eat.
Okay.
The border areas in Nigeria is not the only border where you have illicit businesses throughout the world. We are not justifying the fact that it's a legal business or that is what they're supposed to do. But the government must make an alternative. They must come and industrialize the border.
Okay, Kabiyesi, if I understand you properly, you seem to me to be saying that government has actually abandoned most of the border communities, and so they have to fend for themselves, really. And it's unfortunate if what customs is calling hostility, meaning accommodating, as it were, smugglers, that seems to be the payoff of the abandonment. If federal authorities had not abandoned such communities, they might not have been so willing to be, quote unquote, hostile to, customs. Did I read you right, Kabiyesi? In the meantime, let me say that our friend Libros Oshoma is in the house. He's a legal practitioner and also a commentator on public affairs. In fact, it's not even public. Yeah, I think public. I prefer public because you will go to politics when the time is right. You go to political affairs. Anyway, good morning. Great to have you, brother.
Always my pleasure.
Indeed. Well, you heard, Kabiyesi, the Oniselu of Iselu, and that's a border kingdom. And I think we're still having technical problems in terms of being hearing me, but I did feel that I pretty much captured what Kabiyesi was saying.
Yes, you summarized it in your last question.
Yes.
For me, really, it's a give and take thing. These people are Nigerians, not just Kabiyesi's kingdom.
Subjects.
I've had cause to visit some of the border towns also up north. And you find out that these people don't really see borders. They don't see what we see. Originally, these are neighboring communities before now who, intertrade. In some cases, they even intermarry.
Exactly.
And so, once you've created borders, what you do, we always talk about inclusiveness. You find a way to ensure that you include them in securing those borders. Which brings me to this idea of, we've been talking about federalism, ownership. You ensure that these communities take ownership of that project. If it's nobody's own, nobody will protect it. And so a situation where you now bring a man from, Badagry, to go and police a border in Katsina, the first thing would be about self-preservation. He wants to be alive to be able to protect the border. How much of the custom of these people does he understand? So if you do not involve the people, you don't see them, you don't give them a sense of belonging.
Which seems to be what
Kabiyesi
Oba Akintunde is saying.
If you don't give them a sense of belonging, because You also need to train them to be able to man the borders, in time to come.
Well, these are civilians. I mean, since they're talking about the communities being hostile.
That's what I'm saying. The community will not just be hostile if you are friendly. If you are friendly to them, you can't be. Nobody will be hostile to you when you are friendly to that person.
Education is very important because
what
does friendly mean? Because you must be. You see a Nigerian uniform, you have to be favorably disposed, to a Nigerian uniform.
That is when you even see yourself as a Nigerian. A situation where you live in a border community, you see the kind of cars that come through that border community. You have federal government presence in the name of customs manning the border. You have federal government presence in the name of immigration manning the borders, but their offices in some cases are neglected, not to talk of even them extending love to the communities. That's what you call social corporate responsibilities. Yes. But how well has federal government embarked on corporate social responsibility in communities where they are operating? Even TVC that I know operates corporate social responsibilities even in the environment where they operate. But for federal government, you operate in an environment, in some places they can't even take care of their own, not to talk of taking care of the host communities. So the only conclusion or the only behavior that you get from those people is that, look, well, to your turn to Israel, the federal government does not recognize the fact that I'm alive. To bother about me, so why should I bother about people that they send here to look after what they call borders?
Let me ask that of Kabiyesi Obaki today. Kabiyesi, so you just, what is the situation vis-a-vis your strategic position, I mean, of your community, Iselu Kingdom? Libros Oshoma in studio has said that maybe the federal governments aren't actually relating at all. I don't know what you can say about that, because I imagine you will be fair. Is it that the interaction between the federal authorities is inadequate or is non-existent? Kabiyesi? Okay. Well, because I would have wanted to find out from Kabiyesi. Okay. Kabiyesi, if you're hearing me, what I'm trying to find out from you is, has there been some sort of an interaction between authorities to sort of let people know what their duties are, what their responsibilities are? Because you did say at the beginning, Kabiyesi, that your community seemed to feel a sense of abandonment. So have the authorities related with you at all? Okay, Kabiyesi, we're really having this problem, and it all comes. Why this is important is that it's all about the proliferation of arms. And it's not just customs alone at the border. There's also NIS, and there's also police. But those ones also speaking in this parley had said that it's not our mandate. I mean, if we stumble on any smuggler with arms, of course we'll do the right thing and hand him over. But we're not going to be policing that way. So you see, customs, I don't know if customs doesn't have much more than it can possibly handle.
Let me also tell you that we can't rule out, for me, first and foremost, custom is basically passing the buck. For me, it is passing the buck.
By saying that
it is the hostility
communities
of the communities. Secondly, you complain that the areas, are too large. The vastness of the border.
No, that's what we say. You might have said it before.
Yes.
Most Nigerian commentators.
And so what happens is, when you have such a large area, what you need is more hands.
We need a special. You need a specialist unit. Like in other countries, you hear about border patrol.
Yes.
There's a border patrol force.
Yes, you need more.
Apologies to cable TV.
You need more hands to be able to put up a border patrol, and then there is no way you can have a border patrol without having, an inclusiveness. People that understand the hood, to be part of. So they will be the one to tell you, this man living in this community is part of these people you're looking for. I have been in this community all my life, and so I know where the criminals are. And so, because they are part of the federal government system, they've been given that sense of inclusiveness. So, what government should be doing, employ more hands, make the borders also habitable. I can tell you that some of these borders are not habitable.
That is the point that Obaki today seems to be making.
Yeah, and then lastly, you find out that why do we celebrate people, customs who are transferred to borders? Why do we celebrate them? Because to them it's a big kill. The moment you are removed from the border and sent to training school, they say the man is not occupying a juicy position. So, but when you are sent to the border, so there is no way. All of this, it's a give and take thing. You find custom also aiding this smuggling. In most cases, you know, you rub my back, I rub your back. So custom should not just look at the hostility of the communities alone, which can be taken care of if truly they want to, you know, take care of that problem. If that's the only problem they have, then we don't have a problem.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. George. Good morning, sir. Thank you for bearing with us this morning. Yeah.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, I am really taken aback by the comments made by the KBC. It goes to prove that the governors, the president, and the main people in the front line of leadership in this country are not only our problem. I'm surprised that the KBC will be speaking the way he's saying. He said that there is unemployment and that what do we expect the youth to be eating? Is he saying that the youth are right to engage in smuggling and in
he did say, Mr. George, that he wasn't justifying such behavior, but I think he was anxious to paint the backdrop to it.
No, he emphasized it. What he's saying...
No, but he also condemned it, sir. He also said he wasn't justifying the behavior, but he was trying to explain it.
Uncle Yori, what I'm saying is this. The body language I saw in the king is different from what he was saying.
Okay.
But the truth of the matter is that he, as the leader of that community, in no way should encourage the community people to be doing what is wrong. He complained about lack of development. That is true. But border areas are not the only areas where development is lacking.
That's why you have hostility everywhere.
It cannot be justified to give that reason that because your area is not developed,
has been abandoned,
are free to do whatever they like against the laws of the land.
Okay.
If the customs are to have their way or to have a smooth running in that community, the kings have to cooperate with them.
Okay.
And from what I'm saying now, I don't see that cooperation yet.
All right, Mr. George, thank you very much for calling in. While we still have KBC, let me see if the technology will allow us to. KBC, did you hear that, and would you like to respond?
While we're waiting for KBC, but I completely disagree with Mr. George. That wasn't what KBC was saying. What he was basically saying was that there is a root cause to the problem.
Yeah.
And until we
That's the
deal
impression
with
I got too.
Until we deal with the root cause.
He even said earlier that he wasn't justifying the behavior.
He said it, that it's not encouraging that behavior.
Yes.
But that there's a root cause to it. And that until we deal with that root cause, and that, you know, coupled with the root cause of abandonment, he also talked about the fact that incessantly Fulani herdsmen had attacked their farms, and so you find out that some of them can no longer go to the farm. And so in the absence of that, they take to these social ills. And once you paint a root cause, the solution, that means we have identified the problem. So it is now to provide a solution. How do we deal with this root cause so that we can solve these problems that have been complained of?
Have some sort of a rapprochement. Okay, Ibrahim in Kaduna, good morning, sir. Ibrahim,
Thank
Kaduna.
you so much, sir.
Okay, carry on, please.
Yes. All right, you see. Yes, your topic this morning is quite interesting. I am very happy for bringing out this course concerning border issues. Yes, most of our borders are porous and they are underdeveloped. But to me, the royal father that you just featured is not really the right time for him to use that. Because border is not only border is underdeveloped. Many areas are underdeveloped. So, and that is not an excuse or an avenue for a criminal, some criminal, to allow criminal or to accommodate the criminal. Please, we should accommodate, we should secure and accommodate people. But we should know the type of people we accommodate as a traditional ruler and also an opinion leader as well. I don't really want him to use that. Please, with all due respect.
Okay.
To handle that.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in, Ibrahim. Thank you very much for calling in, Ibrahim. As you know, what commentators have been saying, all sorts of people have been looking at our problem, trying to analyze it, trying to propose solutions. One of the main planks is that all stakeholders, be they traditional rulers, be they religious leaders, even the citizenry, we have to come together and don't just leave security issues to the so-called professionals alone, namely the army, the police, and all of that. In other words, everybody has a responsibility to security. It's in that context that we wanted to find out from Kabiesi as an important person in this sort of layout. So what did he think of the customs? And then, so Kabiesi was giving us his impression, and I got the impression that Kabiesi feels a sense of abandonment of his community, even though he did say he wasn't encouraging the behavior, but he sought to use it to explain that what do you want people to do? People can't go to school. They can't go to farm. They can't go to the farm. They can't make any money to do anything with their lives. This is what I'm paraphrasing Kabiesi now, and Kabiesi is one of that class of traditional rulers that must come together with all other people to let us confront this whole problem of banditry and especially the smuggling in of arms. I have someone on the line. Is it Mazi Okoroafo? Mazi Okoroafo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sir Liberals.
Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. You see, what does it take customs authority to create employment opportunity for the people at the border community? What does it say? Based on what the captain says, no road, no network, no this and that. You ask yourself, to empower the youth there. It is the youth there that are people that have the right, at least they have the opportunity. They know all those potholes, all those lungos, where all these people struggle all these things. Give them the job. Let the customs officer be supervising. It will help us. At least, the NTF, you have them in the doctor. Bring them, let them do that. Look, the problem we have is that when people at the store, when they grab them, they don't even care what is happening at the gate. And you are blaming the people that why would they be hostile? You are coming to my place, we have a farm. I will not go to the farm, I will not get food and eat. Then I will sit there and say, come on, what does it take us up to build schools around those areas? What does it take to practice hospital, common hospital, provide adult and name them for those commercials? It details them. They will come back, say they have generated billions to federal government. The people when they are suffering every day, you don't take care of them. You come back and say they are hostile. What happened? What do you mean by hostility? Go and take care of those people at the community. You see that you have a full fledged of grabbing all those smugglers. That's the only solution. They should stop complaining that they are hostile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We seem to have technical problems with the line with Kabiesi, but I'm glad to see that Kabiesi is still on air. Kabiesi, can you hear us by any chance? Now you can hear us. Okay, very well, Kabiesi. I imagine you'd like to respond, haven't heard the comments.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm trying to say in essence is this. Governance is all about asset and liability. So I still maintain my point, and I stand by it, that also you are coming to the border areas, the federal government, bringing the customs and the rest of the security agents, and there are a lot of seizures. We are condemning it in totality to our subject not to smuggle. But we need to tell the government too what to do. When you make seizures from the border areas, what do you give back to them? There's a border commission. What are they doing? Are they feasible? Have they ever come to secure even a project in the border community? Are people there? Are they goats? Even if they are goats or dogs, they need to be taken care of. It's not like we going to the dog farm to get a bulldog without feeding the dog. What do you expect?
So you seem to be indicating, Kabiesi, your perception Your perception, Kabiyesi,
I spent over 16 years there.
Your perception, Kabiyesi, seems to be that you have been abandoned.
And you are saying the
Sorry.
people in the area is not surviving. Yes.
Okay.
There are still illicit businesses going around, despite the fact that they are developed countries. I love the customs, and they know that every one of them, I stand by them. And I condemn it in totality. And they have, my records are there. I will never support smuggling. But at the same time, I need to tell the government they are not doing enough.
Okay.
The right of every citizen of Nigeria is fundamental, and every one of them have to get dividend of democracy. So what are they getting in return? Nothing. Come and see the areas. It looks so dilapidated, very shallow. You can't even imagine that people are living there.
So,
You know,
Kabiyesi, can you hear me? Kabiyesi, so what I'm getting from you, Kabiyesi, is that customs, for example, hasn't interacted with the community so that they know what the requirements are and are working together as some sort of a team. Of course, the customs being the professionals, but the host community not being hostile to them. Have there been efforts from customs that you are aware of to sensitize the community?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He said that's what I'm saying. I think I'm going to interpret that to mean that if that had happened, we might have not have been where we are.
That's what I'm saying, that when you get to an area, the first thing to do to be able to secure the area is to win the confidence of the people on ground.
Yes.
Because
they don't have any other attention. Now customs have come to man their borders, but how about our lives?
When the colonial masters came to Nigeria, they know that they don't have enough hands to administer all the areas. What did they do? They met authorities on ground. What did they do? They ensure that they won the confidence of those authorities in some areas, put them in places, and then used them. At some point, they had to now amalgamate the country because they needed to run.
Exactly.
So it is the same approach. You get to an area, you need to win the confidence of the ordinary man on the street there to ensure that he is part of you.
Okay, one moment.
He's part of the duties and the job that you're there to enforce.
Okay. We've been speaking with.
Go to Badagry. Even a popular semeboda.
Okay, let me get Mr. Okoro in. Okoro has called in. Good morning, Okoro.
Yeah, good morning.
Please go ahead.
I wonder why the custom will say that the border communities are hostile. Let me put it this way. The border communities are just like a gate to an estate. The custom representing the federal government are supposed to know that these border communities are intrinsically crime prone.
Yeah.
This is the reason being that criminals can come in from both sides. So having known this thing, you have to, if it means deploying more of your officers to that place, you do that. You don't seek for their friendliness or being this. You have to live up to your responsibility. In the military and the paramilitary, there's something they call there's a resistance to be overcome. So having known that these people are hostile, I wish you don't even expect less. You are supposed to brace up to that. That shouldn't be any problem to your activity. You have to brace up to that.
It's a big problem.
Okay.
So that you meet up to your responsibility.
Okay, Mr. Okoro, thank you very much for calling in. It's interesting you put it that way. But did you?
I don't know whether it was you or it was Samuel Mashaya. He interviewed Brigadier General Labi Sama.
Okay, I think both of us have interviewed General.
And in one of those interviews, he said something very instructive and germane, that during the war, they had to enlist the cooperation of the citizens in every areas where they had their camps.
Exactly.
They had to enlist the cooperation because talking about a war situation.
Yes, because that was a war.
And so this is a job. In some cases, you are to man these borders for years. These are communities where you will live, you work for years.
Because by customs, the deputy national spokesperson for customs, Timi Bomodi, saying what he has said, he is also admitting in there that it's not a job they can do on their own.
Yes.
But here is Oba Akitude saying that we abandoned, basically.
And so
nobody knows about us. Nobody cares about us.
What it means, you have a problem.
But the Kabiyesi has. I'm happy that Kabiyesi got the chance to explain that he, in no way, shape, or form, is endorsing what they are doing.
Exactly.
You know. But in the meantime, good morning. We have. I think we have on the line. Mr. Joshua. Good morning, sir.
Okay, Uncle, good morning.
Thank you for coming on.
And I greet your guests.
Libras.
I think the narrative will be a little bit difficult to comment on. I don't know if customs expect the border communities to be friendly to them. I don't really think that is what they're saying.
Well, they use the word hostile. Hostile. They say hostile communities impeding their work.
If custom expects anything less, then I think somebody is probably not well versed with what is going on within the system. I expect that those communities will be hostile. That's the truth. If they are not aware, most of what those communities live on is what they call smuggling. So the truth is they should find other ways of doing their job because they are professionals. You don't expect potential or even criminals to be friendly to you or to support your activities when you are a government agency. So the cabinet here and everybody should understand that Nigeria comes first. The spirit of national being loyal to your country and not destroying the economy of the country should be first in the mind of everybody.
Okay, then.
Instead of defending people who will probably be engaged in criminal activities. So they should brace up and do their work. That's where I think they should focus on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, for calling in. Now, Libras, which part of that was funny? There wasn't anything that was funny.
Yeah, it was. Because when people say, think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. But that your country would have laid the foundation for you to even think.
I hear you.
For you to think at all. They would have given you a foundation to think. But when there is no foundation to think at all, it is not everybody that is in the border community that is a criminal. There are some people who have genuine jobs. There are some people who have the capacity to go into crime but are not going into crime. But when you push them to the brain, they would have no other option but to go into crime.
Okay.
And so, what should the government do? Ensure that they are not pushed to the wall. One
moment, please. Let me, because Kabiyesi's line is quite fickle. Kabiyesi, if you can hear us, I just wanted... Okay, in fact, we've lost Kabiyesi, but we do appreciate that Oba Ebenezer Akitude of the Oniselu of Iselu Kingdom came online. He's one of the community, is a border community. And, you know, long story short, he said, we've been abandoned all this while. Now customs is talking about hostility. Not that Kabiyesi said he in any way, shape or form endorses such activity, but government is absent. And so people are fending for themselves.
And so, like I was saying, when we granted amnesty to people we called militants, blanket amnesty, some of us did advise that what you're doing is you are encouraging those that have the capacity to carry arms, that it pays to carry arms. This is a blanket amnesty. They should do the right thing.
They took a short fix.
Exactly.
And
so now you have a whole big problem.
Well,
we are even contemplating granting amnesty to kidnappers and all sorts. It is the same thing with these border communities. There are people, like I started by saying, these are communities that usually intertrade, intermarry
Indeed.
in some cases. And now you say it's a border town. I used to go to this next village to buy tin tomato. You say, no, you can no longer bring tin tomatoes from this village to this next village. So you must make them understand why.
Yeah. So customs has to, as people have said, more than one person has said that customs has to up their game.
Yes, you need to up your game.
You need to up your game and find means.
What
maybe
custom,
go to the beginning. Maybe engage with that community.
What
so
custom has done is to pass the buck to the federal government, to the community. The community in turn has passed the buck to the federal government. So there needs to be a stakeholder,
indeed,
roundtable discussion, and then
police and immigration, by the way, are saying that, well, it's not our mandate, but we won't close our eyes if we see anybody smoggling arms. We'll hand them over to.
But those ones are not complaining of hostility.
No, because it's not their mandate. So thank you very, very much, Lagos. My pleasure. And again, our thanks to Kabiesi Oniselu of the Selu Kingdom that made time, and also to all you that called in as well. Have you registered for your vaccination? Baby, did you get your vaccination yet? That's the thing that's in town now. So as we go, I'll continue to say, mask up, please. Wash your hands as frequently as possible. Don't be in crowds if not necessary. I think I covered all the bases. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.